Nick always is like, you spend so much time scrolling on social media. I tell him it's research and development because I like to see what other people are putting out there, maybe get an idea from those, and then also trends. Like I said, it's a balance of entertainment and education. Welcome to Life Unleashed,
the podcast all about creating the best life for you and your furry best friend.
If you're a dog mom on the go, juggling life, work, and the endless joys of being a dog parent, then you're in the right place. I'm Dani.
And I'm Nick.
And together with the incredible dog mom community from Tails Up Pup, we're here to share advice, stories, and the obsession we have over the love for our dogs.
Get ready to laugh, learn, and lean on each other because life with your dog just got even more awesome.
Jasmine wrote in and asked how to grow your small business on social media. So I thought we could talk about it. We've probably talked about this in the past, but it's ever evolving. Social media is always changing. The algorithm is always changing. And let's talk about it.
I think we have a very specific take on this. If you've listened to some of our episodes, maybe, I don't know, like a month ago, 2 months ago, we stopped doing paid advertising for the time being. And so now it's more important than ever that we use like the free channel, social media, to grow our business. That's the number one our number one factor in how we're growing our business.
So if you are wondering why we would stop paid advertising, we were having a baby and we were like, we won't be able to fulfill all of the orders that come through. So how can we take a step back? So we were like, we'll pause on the paid ads, see what happens, and we can always start them again. But we just felt like we needed a pause while we were in the hospital, adjusting to newborn life and figuring it all out. And honestly, there was no way for us to know like how much power we really had in our own hands and how much was in this paid advertising. And in the past, I have my tagline slogan has always been, how do you expect someone to buy something if they don't know about it? And then if they don't know about it, you have to pay to get in front of these people. And I still believe, how do you expect someone to buy something they don't know about? But I don't necessarily believe that you have to pay to get in front of people. It definitely helped us grow and get to where we are today. And we have a bigger following. So I think that it's like somewhat easier now that we have more eyeballs on our page organically, even though we paid to get them there. Now they are there organically. So I don't know. We don't regret ever doing the paid advertising. I just think it was really interesting to see that we still do have power in our own hands and we don't necessarily have to pay to get all these orders because, you know, the question was like, how many people buy from us versus these paid things? And I mean, paid advertising is like a monster in itself. It is so complex and like, you know, crazy. There's so much that goes into it, and we didn't do it on our own. We paid a company to do it for us, and I think that it's so cool that that option is there, and we probably will do it again. But in this moment, we are not. I feel like we're still trying to adjust to this new life, and people are still buying without the paid advertising. And so
that just is a testament to, like, I think the strength of a community and, you know, how our social media comes across and all of that is, you know, do people show up? Do they only buy because they got an ad and they're just buying the product, or do they care more about the business and follow along and actually buy for those reasons?
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to see that some people still choose to buy because they're seeing it through us, whether that be Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, this podcast. They are coming from different places, and it's all about where you choose to spend your time. And you want to spend your time on what produces the most results. And for us in 2020, 2021, maybe even 2022, Instagram stories was the biggest thing. I was getting, 10,000 views on a story, and to have that many eyeballs viewing something that I was posting about was wild. And then times changed. People had to go back into the office. People were viewing stories less. And so then we had to shift, and it was Instagram posts were now doing better. And now, November of 2024, I have seen a shift that people have been talking about for probably over a year that didn't impact me, and now it does. And that is Instagram Reels. So I would say for us in this moment, here and now, the best way to grow our social media brand, and a lot of others that I've seen as well, is doing Instagram Reels.
That is very true. It really feels like the static post, at least for our type of business, seems to be mostly dead. Not that we don't do them.
If I post a photo of Callan, it does well. But if I post a photo of a dog in a bandana or a flat lay of a sweatshirt, which those used to do so well for us, like those used to do the best.
Yeah, the flat lays did the best.
Now, barely anyone likes them, and it's they're not even seeing them. Like Instagram is not putting them on people's feeds because you can see how many eyeballs are on it, how many people like it, how many people are commenting, all that stuff. Like we can see how many people it's even getting shown to, and it's not that many. So photos for us, and that's what's sad is like, I love photos. I love the customer photos we get. I love the photos that we take, and photos are just like a big part of our business, and for them to not do well is really sad.
Particularly like some of them are literally so cute.
Yeah.
Like some of our customer photos are like could be
best.
in a magazine, a front page of any magazine out there.
I want to make a coffee table book of like Tails Up Pup
Yeah.
photos.
We do have one,
Yeah.
an old one. We need to make a new one.
We need a new one. So the thing about Reels is that there is a balance between entertainment and education and all of the things that you're going to make Reels about. And they take a lot of time. Whether you're spending time to come up with an idea, to film and execute, to edit, to do a voiceover, it all takes a lot of time. And for right now, I'm trying to do almost one a day, and it is very hard.
And to always like come up with a fresh idea and all of the things. We did another podcast on AI, and I feel like AI can help us come up with the ideas, but like it can't do all the filming for you and all that stuff. You got to put in the work, film it, and do everything.
Something interesting I saw, which I want to implement, but it just costs a little bit of money. But I saw, okay, I am on the TikTok of scrapbooking, and I have always loved scrapbooking. I actually have
scrapbook TikTok.
I'm on scrapbook TikTok. I have a huge amount of supplies in the basement, but I just need to buy a scrapbook, and I want to make Callan one. And these girls are saying, like, if you have a creative job and you are looking to stir your brain, scrapbooking is a great way to, use your brain in a different way, be creative, and it actually helps these girls in their jobs be more creative. And I think that would work for me. So I think I'm going to try it because
Walk me through that. What do you mean? Like you're gonna...
It's kind of like, okay.
Vision board?
You love talking and coming up with new ideas, and like you just love using your brain. If you sat and didn't use your brain anymore in those ways, it would be much harder for you to continue on. You kind of become a vegetable. Like I kind of feel like a vegetable in creativity because I'm in a repetitive pattern. I'm creating reels of day in my life, making a bandana. Like they're all becoming the same in different ways. And maybe I would come up with new and unique ideas, but I can't even get my brain to think in a new creative way. But if I started scrapbooking and trying to be creative in a different way, it might allow my brain to pick back up and be more creative.
Two things that I want to say about that. I think you're 100% right with that. I think there's two philosophies there. The first is like all of us need to be able to take a moment from like all the busyness and actually spend specific time to be creative. I think so often with the creative process, it's like I have to do this while doing all this other stuff. Like I have to come up with it right now, then execute it. I think like just taking a specific time to scrapbook, to do anything.
Like for you, hiking
yes.
allows you to become more creative.
Yes,
it's not actually correlated, but it allows your brain to get into
walking. Yes,
yeah.
Walking and talking for me works really well, and I even think for you a lot of times it does too. We used to do more walks together. And so like that was when new ideas would come up, we'd talk about them, and then you'd come back. But I also think sometimes, and it sounds like for you need that kind of one-on-one or just you single time where you're, doing a scrapbook or something where you're just working through things that like, oh, an idea came to me, stuff like that. Similar things happen for me. Like if I sit down and journal, like new ideas and things like that come to my mind. Like writing really helps, me be creative as well.
I guess the moral of this tangent is if you are in a creative space and trying to grow your social media, it can be good to find an outlet to allow yourself to go somewhere else and become creative in a different way, and it will end up coming back into your business.
It sometimes seems like that stuff's a waste of time, like going on a walk or scrapbooking or whatever it may be for you. But I think that is some of the most valuable time spent, because really the best way to grow on social media is to be unique, creative, and your own, like put your own personal flair into it. And if you're struggling or you feel like you're bogged down and not able to come up with new ideas, it's going to be stale for you. So that is probably your best time spent.
Nick always is like, you spend so much time scrolling on social media. I tell him it's research and development because I like to see what other people are putting out there, maybe get an idea from those, and then also trends. Like I said, it's a balance of entertainment and education, and there are trends that sometimes you can implement in your business and that will get more eyeballs. And while you may not be trying to sell something or even talk about your business, having more eyeballs on your content can help overall. And so like some of my best reels recently have been like Callan and Gracie and like how our baby and our dogs interact and that type of stuff. And like that has nothing to do with our business, but people enjoy watching that. And I want to bring entertainment, not just, you know, education or not just sales. And so like people like watching what I do in a day. And I think it is really entertaining. I always use this comparison, which is like an absurd comparison, but the way that we find true crime and jail, like fascinating, because to us, like it is so outside of our realm. I think it's fascinating because it's something like I've never been to jail, and like I don't think I ever will go to jail, knock on wood. So like I find it fascinating. I think people find it fascinating about what we do for work, because most people work at a desk and like have to report to a job, and like to them it's fascinating to see that we can do this and make a living from this.
Well, just like anything that you're not used to, like that behind the scenes stuff, it's like even like behind the scenes of like a fast food restaurant is like cool, because like I've not worked that job.
Yeah.
So what is that like? Or any job that you've not worked, it's like you don't know all, you see the front end product, but you don't see the back end stuff, and the back end stuff is always interesting.
So I feel like I might have been like putting down myself for saying like I'm repeating my day in the life. So like I'm still going to do those because I enjoy filming them. People enjoy watching them, and every day is different. So it's not like I'm posting the same exact thing. But I also have found that it is useful to change up my voiceover. So even if I'm filming a day in the life, I don't need to be talking about exactly what I'm doing every time. Sometimes I voice over a clip from this podcast. Sometimes I talk about a customer experience. And so it doesn't have to be telling what I'm doing every time. So I think that that's also good, and just like changing up what you're, you know, providing.
What I also notice when you're changing things up, it also seems like you're testing to see what works.
Yeah.
And like,
but sometimes what works now doesn't always work the next time.
Well, exactly, and that's why you have to continue to evolve in that part of the process. But yeah, it does seem like if you're trying to grow on social media, you have, and particularly in the beginning, if you're trying to find your own voice and that type of stuff, you have to make a lot of content, you have to test a lot of things and see what works. And when you find something that works, try to do more of that stuff. And then when you start to see that it's not working anymore, hopefully you've been also trying other things you can always jump from, one lily pad to the next.
Lily pads.
Sometimes we're good at that. Other times we're not as good at that.
Yeah. I think for now, Reels is just where we have to spend all of our time, because that's what Instagram is showing people. And Instagram is where our like tried and true Tales of Pup community is. I sometimes try to post those Reels on YouTube Shorts, and some of those have done well. And I don't know if like sales have come from them while they get views. I don't know. I don't know a way to track that. My TikTok is still dead. RIP to my TikTok. I worked so hard on that, and she's not thriving, and I don't know why, but it's just part of it. And I'm not putting a lot of effort into it because it's not producing for me.
There's definitely different communities on each platform.
That's what I try to run with, is like what is doing well, what people seem to be enjoying. I just run with that. And so, I figured out how I use CapCut to edit my Reels, and that has worked well for me. I just feel like you have to run and figure out how to do things of what people are enjoying at that time. So like we used to spend basically like my day in the lives in Reels, I used to put on stories essentially.
Yes.
And I've turned it into not putting that. And it's very hard to not be repetitive. Like I would love to put it like more behind the scenes on stories, but people just aren't watching them as much. So putting it on Reels made more sense.
Yeah, that's such an interesting change, because it really was like the stories was where everything was at. And then when they're not getting shown to people, it's like you have to adapt.
Mm-hmm. It definitely was easier to film more when we had more employees, because we had more things happening and more like almost storylines. Like I could go and see what someone was doing, and it was always going to be different than what someone else was doing. And so it was less repetitive, and you had more personalities. So I think that was like a fun aspect, but
there was also a lot more time for you to do that. You
Yes.
weren't exclusively doing content, but that was
at one point I almost was. Like
Right.
we had enough employees that I was filming everything, and that's when our TikTok was doing the best. So it was definitely worth it because it was producing results. But now it is much harder.
You have to like fit in the content when you're trying to also do the work.
And why is it harder? I think the algorithm changing. I think that there are more people posting, like businesses posting, so you have to grab people's attention in a different way. And I also think people are spending less time on social media because they are no longer in quarantine and they are back working.
The other thing too is the quality of because there's more people posting, the quality, there's more high quality content out there, so it's harder to compete against that stuff. Before, like if you just had anywhere decent type of content, there wasn't as much of that out there, so you'd stand out more. Now the bar always gets raised, it seems like, and so you have to figure out different ways to stand out, have higher quality content and things like that.
But filming reels makes doing your job take so much longer. And I was explaining to Nick the other day, like I'm able to get way less done because right now I am taking care of a baby and I'm working during nap times. And so I already have less time. And then during that time, I'm also trying to film. I don't edit during that time. I usually can edit while he's awake if he's like nursing or something. So I feel like I try to utilize my time the best I can in different ways. But the actual filming allows me to make less orders in that time frame. And that can get really frustrating when you're trying to get a lot done in a short amount of time because then you're like, okay, I just don't need to film. I'll just do my work. But then if you're trying to post more and create more content, then you need to film.
And one thing that's true, I don't think more is always better, but like it does seem like for us, the more we post, the better we do on social media, as well as it just gives you more chances at like having that video that does really well.
Well, the matter of fact is that this is our job. So we have to make money to pay our bills, both husband and wife. So if the way that we are doing that is by putting this content out there, then that has to be done so that we can make money. While, you know, we enjoy doing this and we would love to do it for fun, the bills have to get paid, so we have to make money. And so creating reels is how that's happening. And so that's just the matter of fact.
Well, that's the other thing too that really gets into like if you're doing a job as like a side hustle versus like a full-time job. Like for us, it's our full-time job, our full focus, and when that is that way and that is what pays the bills, it's like you're gonna do whatever you got to do to make it work.
But that's the part that we enjoy. Both of us don't enjoy making the products. We, don't find a lot of joy in running an embroidery machine or sewing at a sewing machine. We find joy in creating the content because the content is what brings the community, which is what we are all here for. We enjoy interacting with everyone, learning their stories, making
the moments
friends.
we get to be part of.
Yeah, all of that part is why we still are doing what we're doing. If we didn't have that and we were just sewing and embroidering, we would not be here still because we would have wanted to find something else to do. But we're willing to do the parts that we don't like so that we can have the parts that we do like. And it all is a cycle. It all is a circle. It all leads back to itself, which is why this works for us. And what were you going to say?
I was going to say, what would you tell somebody that is like either just starting out or like really feels like they're in a rut with social media for their business? What kind of like advice would you give to them? I mean, besides obviously all the stuff that we've talked about now.
Well, I think finding out like who you are, what you want to be business wise, and how you're going to communicate that in like reel in the people, get it? Reel in the people
That was good.
that you want to be there. And so if you want, I don't know how to like really explain it, but like I feel like we were authentically ourselves, which is why we have this amazing community that we enjoy talking to and being there. Like if we had put on a face and like been someone else, then we would be like so drained and we wouldn't enjoy anything about what we do. So like finding who you truly are and who you like, how you're going to put that out there.
How do you go about finding who you truly are and what you want to put out there?
I think that's the hardest part. I don't have an answer for it because a lot of people probably are struggling with that. And it's hard. It's hard to know who you are.
I think a lot of it comes from like trying and just, the repetition of continuing to try to put yourself out there. And the more that you do that, the more you find your own voice.
And I've said this about like, if you're not comfortable filming, just filming a bunch and never posting it, just practicing and learning, because I think for me, who I am on camera and in front is who I truly am. But I am shy and reserved. So when people first meet me, they think I'm someone else. But I think it's truly who I am.
Oh, you definitely are the same person. It is just you. When you're talking to a camera, you're like, you do that part so much that like you're immediately kind of like on really bubbly. But like when you meet someone in person, you are more shy and reserved until like you get to know someone better and things like that. Mm-hmm. You're still the same person. You know, it's kind of like if you're with your best friend or whatever, someone would say you're different with your best friend than you are with a stranger. Of course you are.
Oh, I actually saw this on Love is Blind. The one girl, Hannah, like takes her fiance to meet her family, and then they go meet his family. And everyone on the internet was bashing her because they were like, she's two different people. Who even is she? But people were pointing out like how you act with your own family a lot of times is different than how you act with another family that you don't know.
Right. Well, exactly. She
was much more comfortable with her family than she was with her fiance, who she didn't even know's family.
Exactly. And I mean, you know, when you're talking to a camera, though, as long as you've been doing it, it's like you are talking to somebody that you've known for years and years and years. You've just done it so much. Mm-hmm. And so you are going to obviously be a little bit different than with a stranger.
I saw a reel recently, and I sent it to you. I don't know if you watched it, but it was the girl who invented sprinkles cupcakes. And she was like, let me see if I can remember. It was like at first, like, okay, I don't remember exactly word for word, but it's like at first they make fun of you, then they call you crazy, then they want to know how you did it. And it's like, I feel like the hardest thing for people is what is someone going to think about me? Is someone going to make fun of me for posting this video or for making this reel? And if you're constantly worried about how someone is going to talk about you behind your back or what they're going to think about you, then you're never going to get to where you want to be. So you just have to remember who you are, where you want to be, and what goals you have, how you're going to get there, and not worry about these other people. And these other people probably are going to make fun of you or say like, can you believe she's doing that? But then once you make it, then they're going to come back around. And that's honestly what irritates me is there are people who have treated me differently once they've seen how many followers we have. And I'm like, those people will not be true friends. You need people who don't care about that stuff.
Yeah. And the other thing too, it is very hard to like get over the fear of like what other people think. I think that's a very innate human thing. Like we don't want the tribe to hate us. Mm-hmm. And so that part is scary. However, what you'll find is if maybe they'll make fun of you, but guess what? 5 minutes later, they're not going to be thinking about you. Most people are consumed with themselves, and they're not thinking about you all the time. So maybe it's 2 or 3 minutes, and then it's over, and it's not going to even be likely to your face. And that's just something that, like, that's the price of admission for doing these things. And the goal is eventually, you know, like Dani said, then they're going to be asking, well, how did you do that? How'd you get so good in front of the camera? How'd you get all these, you know, build this awesome business and all this stuff, whatever. But you have to go through those growing pains to get there. And there's no shortcuts to it, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But I do like what you say about like filming and testing it out and like literally practicing like, behind closed, like kind of like the audition. You're auditioning with yourself and you're not having to put that stuff out there. But eventually you do have to post it. And I will 100% guarantee you that your first or your 100th post will never be as good as your 1000th post. There's just no way that it can be that way. It takes time to improve and get better.
Another thing, we've talked about this before, and email's not really like a social media platform, but email is still a great producer of results. It is, what is it? Like a marketing tactic.
Yeah.
That's what the word I was looking for.
Well, so it's not even just no, because like the way that I feel like we run our emails is like it really still is another communication with like our community.
Yeah, but I was trying to say like it's like the number one like results driven marketing.
Yeah, email marketing, I think in general out of all marketing channels still makes like the most money.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. So like if you're not doing email, that's another option for you. But email's not going to work if you don't have anyone to send it to. So you have to build up your email list, and you could do that through social media or by offering a coupon or like, who knows? There's lots of different ways. But an email list is, to me, the most important thing because it is something you own, and Instagram could vanish tomorrow. You would lose everyone. So if you are solely relying on social media, it could be very hard for you if those things did go away. So you want to have something that you truly own, and that would be your email list. And for us, we would significantly be impacted by social media vanishing, even though we have 30,000 email subscribers. Like, it doesn't matter that we own that. We would still, I mean, we run our business on social media. So I'm saying that, but I also, take it with a grain of salt because
Well, yeah, it's very tough. And that doesn't mean that, like, I feel like you have to find where your spot is, and we'll say that's Instagram for us, and you go all in on that. You still need to try to build up, other things that help, like the email list and that type of stuff. You shouldn't say, like, well, I have to do all these different things, whatever, and do nothing well. I don't think that's a great strategy. But you just, like you said, you have to, be cognizant of what happens if it goes away. And normally that stuff doesn't happen overnight. So you got to, like, keep your finger on, like, the trends and, like, what's going on, and, like, okay, well, if this is slowly going away, where is the attention going? Where can I start to build up?
I also think you have to put yourself in the consumer's shoes. Like, okay, for yourself, how often are you just randomly going to a website to buy something? Pretty rare. You either need something, like you're like, okay, I need a new pair of jeans, and I like going to Abercrombie, so I'm going to go to their website. But you're not just going to Abercrombie just to scroll because you're bored one day. Like, people just don't do that. So how are you going to get in front of those people? It might be email, it might be reels. Like, you have to be top of mind for them to want to go look at your things, because most people just aren't randomly going to stumble upon it.
Right. They'd have to be specifically looking for and already know you.
Mm-hmm. It's always interesting when we talk about this because it is ever evolving. And I wonder what, like, a year from now, even 6 months, 3 months, like, it probably will change and we'll have to be doing something different. And I think it takes a certain person who is willing to bend with and figure out new things, because, like, a year ago, people were like, you need to be doing reels. And I really wasn't doing that. I was doing some, but not that many. I was still really prioritizing photos. And to me, it was like, okay, if this is working well, I'm not going to put in the effort to learn something new. And for the most part, no one is. No one's just going to, like, learn something for no reason. You either have to want to or need to. And so I think you have to be willing to put in the work to figure it out, because, we had to get a tripod that worked for our phones and figure out a new editing software. And, like, it's crazy. Unless you film, you don't realize how much you have to move a camera, how much you have to put thought into what you're doing. It would be grand if I could just set it up and do my work, but then you would see my butt half the time. Like, you need to be moving it around, putting it in the right spot, and, like, truly showing different angles to keep people captivated. And I think that is something that you don't realize, how much effort goes into creating a reel. And yeah.
It is very cool, though, that if you're willing to put in the effort and try, I think social media is still one of the best ways to start and grow a business, to take an existing business and continue to help it grow. It is a great free tool that, even if you're not going to pay for ads or any of that stuff, to grow a community. And if you're willing to learn and improve and all of that stuff, you can do really well with it. And I feel like that's a very, like, optimistic thing of, like, you know what, I have an idea and I'm going to go start a, social media page and I'm going to grow a business from this.
Also, I will just say, if you watch one of my reels and don't give it a like or comment, you should, because I put a lot of effort into it. And I feel like sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want to be that annoying person who comments on everything or likes everything. Like, you will never annoy me. I will appreciate you. And I promise I will talk about you to Nick probably every night. I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl's commenting. Like, how fun. Like, I love that. So please do it. And it will make me happy, and it'll make me feel like I am putting my work into,
you're getting good feedback.
Get good feedback, yes. I feel rewarded. I'm like a dog. I need a little treat. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.